very good, isn't it?
It's like group therapy. Oh, God. My name's Geri Halliwell, and I left a band.
You did? Why did you leave the band?
Do you know what? I knew you were going to ask me that question.
Well, you're bound to know I'd ask you that question.
Yesterday, I was sitting in my car, and I was thinking, why? And because I want to be as truthful as possible. And if I am truthful, bluntly with myself, which is most importantly, there's a few things you've got to bear in mind. One, it was 8 months ago, and it's still quite tender in my heart. And so I don't actually know the full reasons. There's probably lots. And it's the only way I can describe it. I'll tell you, what I can tell you is the events, and you, Dr. Parker, you tell me. Maybe give me a cure.
I don't know about that, but...
Well, you know, I've got a bit of a history, as you know, we can cover, which, you know, makes me who I am. Maybe that can explain it. But what I can say, you know, the Spice Girls to me was like a marriage. It was a marriage where I fell in love completely, passionately. I needed it. You know, my father had died 6 months beforehand, so I was very militant, I was bossy, you know, I was adamant this was going to fill a massive void in me. And so the Spice Girls and I, we had this whirlwind romance. And, you know, what can I say, like 1 in 3 marriages these days, and we were babies when we started. I was the eldest, I was 22, under the, you know, pressures of work schedules. You know, that marriage, it broke up. You know, imploded like, you know, I have to say, I'm absolutely gutted it did. But, you know, what can I say it did? I would have liked it to go on. Yes. But I'm always a very instinctive person, and something told me that I had to leave. Yes.
See, I'm more interested in where you came from than where you were with the Spice Girls. That's fascinating. Because, I mean, when we were talking to Carol there about background, I mean, you were really poor, weren't you? I mean, poor.
I was Fleabag jumble cell kid, yeah. Jumble cell knickers, yeah. Yes. I mean, which wasn't good.
No. I mean, describe to me what it was like. I mean, what kind of a kid were you? I mean, what sort of a child? What was the circumstances about?
Well, my father didn't work from the day I was born, put it that way. But he was, on one hand, he was a great man. He was well-read, very political. He was a dreamer, very into literature, and he gave me all of that, which I'm very grateful for. And on the other hand, my mother, you know, she's Spanish, very determined, and she was always working. She was my role model, you know, example that I had. So I had a real mixture. I was the baby, so I was fueled with confidence on one hand, but then I did feel very different from everybody else. You know, everyone else had lots more material things than I ever did. So sometimes I felt inadequate, and I was very small for my age. So I kind of put all escapism into movies, into Elvis, into music. That was my escapism, basically.
And you wanted to be who? What was the ambition when you were growing up? What was the dream? You couldn't have an ambition coming from where you came from, that sense.
I think I'm a product of media. You know, be rich and famous. You know, that is, if you're famous, suddenly the golden doors open and you're going to be happy, and that's it. So I was chasing this, obviously, something that's, you know, doesn't really exist, but, you know, that's what was my ticket. I was basically chasing a lottery ticket that I could control. Everyone, you know, buys a ticket every Wednesday, don't they? Yeah. You know, I was just chasing mine. That's all.
You worked in a variety of jobs, and you worked in a variety of jobs at the same time, didn't you?
Yes.
And how many jobs did you have in 1 week?
Well, I counted it all in all the other day, and it's about 40 different kind of jobs. But before I met the Spice Girls, I was trying to put a demo tape together, which cost £300. And I was trying to be the new Betty Boo. And anyway, so I had 6 jobs a week. I had 2 cleaning jobs, behind a bar, aerobics, selling knocked-off tag watches. You name it, I was the Artful Dodger. You know, I'm a survivalist. And I was doing what I could till I got there, basically.
So you just had 6 different jobs?
Oh, yeah, totally. But I was on a mission.
And what about the time you had when you went to Turkey as a game show host?
Oh, yeah, I had to learn that fridge.
Well, I mean...
But it was brilliant. I was, you know, you've got to understand, you know, I left home when I was 16 years old, like Dick Whittington. And when I was about 18, I decided to go back to college. I believe in education, absolutely. I think it's brilliant. And I went back with a different attitude. And I studied English, finance, marketing, and I was there because I wanted to be there. But I had to support myself. So I went out there, you know, the mornings I was studying, and then I had to pay, you know, my way. So I had to do things like, I was a topless model, and it was called glamour modeling, but it's not glamorous. And I was the game show hostess in Turkey at the weekend.
Well, tell us about both those things, but tell us about the game show hostess first of all. Did you learn how to speak Turkish?
Well, I did have to say the odd word, and basically what I used to do was write it on my arm, then go, "Ses bakalım," or something like, you know, I didn't even know what I was saying, basically. And there was 3 doors, and people would, you know, win a booby prize or the car, and they had to choose it, and you had to stand there, and sometimes it was a chicken or a tyre. But the funny thing was, they used to put me up in this hotel, and I used to think it was fantastic. I was earning a couple of hundred, you know, pounds. I thought it was brilliant at the time.
And the topless modelling too. I mean, that would always come back to haunt you, won't it?
It certainly came back to haunt me. Yeah, totally. You know, it was something I did. It wasn't something that I really wanted to do. It paid, you know, for me it was, you know, good money, but it isn't really. And I didn't do fantastic. That's it. I mean, the irony of it all, you know, these photographers, they've made a fortune out of it now. You know, I've made Playboy.
But they stole the pictures to Playboy.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And I mean, you had no means of either stopping that or making some money out of it.
Yeah, funny thing was, they'd want you to, you know, to get your top off and, you know, show your bottom, and then I would be trying to get them at the end of it to do some pictures for my book and do something really arty. But, you know, I don't know what I was doing.
They're not really after that, are they?
No, they're not after that.
Well, you're not the only one.
But to be honest, it was boring. I found it very, very dull. In the end, standing there with a window open to keep your nipples firm was not good.
Is that what they do?
Yeah, they do. They do.
Fix the trade. Yeah. I do.
Very handy. Very handy. You never know. Actually, maybe you could do when you're...
The thing about... No, not me, love. No.
The older man. I told you, Parky, I find you very handy.
Oh, thank you, darling. I was once Spunk of the Month in Australia.
Oh, really?
But,
Sorry, Spunk of the Month.
It's that Northern charm.
No,
It's that Northern charm.
Spunk has a different meaning in Australia than it does here.
I'm sure.
I'm sure.
Actually, you have got 3 children, haven't you?
I have
Very
got 3.
fertile.
I have got 3. That's right. Well, we get into the conversation. I know I was only going to make a remark that in fact that the only 2 people here among the 4 of us who've not taken their clothes off are actually Carol and myself, because Dawn's done it too. She posted her Esquire, didn't you?
I did, yes,
You did?
I did.
Yeah.
Did you stand by the windows with the wind coming?
No. Oh, permanently erect.
Permanently.
Very liberating. Very liberating.
Right, so you got all this, you got 300 quid to make a demo disc. Right, and then along come the Spice Girls.
Yes.
That's how it happened.
You know, there was an audition, and the funny thing was, I had another manager at the time, and, you know, quite a good one, and I thought, yeah, I'm carving this career, just starting it out. And then I met the other girls, but they had shit management, and I thought, what do I do? Do I go with this guy that's a good manager, or do I go with the girls, which I thought were fantastic? You know, I fell madly in love with them, with, you know, not so good management. And I remember asking someone into the record business, I said, what do you think I should do? He goes, girl band? Nah, never make it. And I thought, that's reverse psychology on me, thank you, I'll go with the band.
Really?
You know, you're wrong, absolutely, it's very instinctive.
But you could have no idea that it would have taken off as the way it did take off.
No, you couldn't.
No.
I think, you know, we're very focused, and, you know, we had good gut instinct that it was going to work, really, and it was, you know, it was a tight thing together.
But it must have changed your lives totally. And, what interests me is, you know, the manner in which it changed you. I mean, how did it change you? You went from this one moment, all of a sudden, you're this girl from Watford, this group of wannabes, and the next thing, you're this extraordinary phenomena. I mean, it's all over the world. And you're like doll. I bought you 3 times for my grandchildren, dolls, you know.
Did you play with them?
Certainly. But I mean, it's been a remarkable story.
It has, but the thing is, it's so fast. You've got to understand, really, we were only in the public eye 2 years, but, I mean, that's the state of consumerism. It's so fast, you know, and so you don't have time to digest it.
You don't.
You really don't.
It's a blur, is it, with you?
It is really. One minute I was, you know, pinching Prince Charles's arse, and the next minute, you know, I was on a boat in Cannes. You know, I was sitting in front of the telly the other day, and suddenly I thought, oh my God, I pinched Prince Charles's bum. I can't believe I'd done that.
It
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad, I have to say. And, you know, actually, one thing I would like to say is, for those, you know, Geri Halliwell is here, but Ginger is not dead. She's still alive, and she does come to surface now and again, and she will be back.
But on the Prince Charles theme, on the Portsmouth Road, on the Prince Charles theme, I mean,
Yeah.
that was the first time. By way of introduction, you pinched his backside.
Yeah.
But then, of course, you actually went and you sang at his birthday.
Yes, and I had a big learning experience from that. If anyone is suffering from constipation, sing to Prince Charles, because I went 11 times in that big dress. Not good, I have to say. It's what I was thinking. I was thinking, imagine if I fell over. What would I do? What would I do? So I came to this plan that if I did fall over, I was just going to lie there and pretend to be dead. That's it. Cart me off, but never wake up. So, but I've had one hell of a year. It's been a disaster adventure movie. Did I tell you about my drowning in Uganda?
Well,
I was there with Comic Relief, and I was whitewater rafting, and I fell in the water in the rapids, got sucked under for 20 seconds, and I'm telling you, and then the boat turned over and was smacking on top of my head, and it was like a Poseidon
Poseidon?
Adventure, yeah, and I was like Shelley Winters, and someone tried to save me, and I went, help me, help me. It was just like, so there was that, and then from that I went to going to the United Nations, and that was meant to be an educational visit, and suddenly it said, no, you've got to speak to World Press, and I was like, oh my God. And
what do you have to talk about to them?
well, basically, it was about contraception.
All right.
And what contraception are you using, Dr. Parky? It's about... I won't put you on the spot.
You're too young to have read Cosmopolitan 26 years ago.
Okay, I'll let you off.
Still using the pig's bladder method.
Or it's the...
Or something now.
So, no, basically, I'm bringing awareness to plights of women in third world countries that are denied basic rights. I mean, there's facts like 600,000 women die every year giving birth, which is ridiculous. We wouldn't put up with it in this country. And, you know, I think I have a duty to make people aware of that. I'm meant to be the advocate of girl power. Well, you know, I have to take it one step further. This is the empowerment of women.
Does it mean anything, girl power, though?
Oh, totally.
Does it? I mean, did it change anything?
I put my hand on my heart and I believed in it.
You put your hand on your mic there, actually.
Sorry.
It's still my beating heart.
Yes, it is.
But I mean, is it just a phrase? I mean, does it work or what? I mean,
Well, it worked for me. I am living proof that if you put your mind to something and you feel strong, then you can achieve anything. Sometimes you've just got to go for it and believe. The power of the mind is everything. It doesn't have to be girl power. It's people power. It's strength within here. It's believing in yourself. It's about self-esteem. And let's have, you know, holding hands with therapy now. Actually, I've got a picture. I've got an exclusive for everybody. This is your late Christmas present. Well, after my hectic year, I went to New York to kind of escape a little bit, do a bit of shopping. But no, I was lying 8:30 in my bed in my nice flannelette pyjamas, and there is a bomb scare in my hotel, and they say, madam, you have to get out of the hotel. So I'm standing in New York in my flannelette pyjamas. So everyone to see, I don't know if you can see that. So that's an exclusive the paparazzi did not get, see? Clearly it was an initiative bringing my camera with me. I might go into journalism.
My mum always used to make me take fire escape pyjamas to university.
Fire escape pyjamas.
Fire escape pyjamas. They're a very lacy little green number, just in case for that.
I've heard of clean underpants in case you get knocked down, but
there you have it.
that's
especially for you.
I'm more touched than I can tell you, and thanks, Diana.
You're welcome.
That's very nice indeed.
Thoughtful present.
You are a thoughtful person, actually. Now, let's talk about the other thing too. You're very, very outspoken on the business of the breast cancer campaign too, weren't you?
Totally.
I think that was probably the most inspirational thing that you did, in a sense.
Totally.
What were the circumstances of you getting involved in that? I mean, you had a scare yourself when you were...
Yes, I was, when I was 18 years old, and I was busy being a club dancer, and I had to pay my rent. I had a lump in my breast, and I thought, oh, got to get rid of this. I knew that, you know, went to see the doctor, and it got sorted, bingo, and I didn't think about it, you know. And then the Sun newspaper, how many years later, last year, asked, they discovered it and decided to run the story. At that time, my accountant gave me this book by Ruth Picardy, Before I Say Goodbye, and I swear to you, I read this book and I cried my eyes out, and it made me realise how this is absolutely awful, the humility that she wrote the book as well. You know, she had 2 kids, it was just, and I just was so, you know, when something really touches you, and I thought, my God, I have an absolute duty to do something about this. See, my philosophy is, you know, we all blame society, but we are society. We have the power, you and I, to make a difference. And I have, in a bigger way than most. I'm famous, so I can speak up about that, really. So if one person, you know, watching this, they've just said that, oh, then that's done something good. So I feel that life is just so much take, take, take. We've got to give back a little bit more.
But you've pursued this, whatever it is you've been on the run ever since you were born, in a sense, haven't you?
Yeah.
You're chasing after something. Or
yeah. I was always looking for something to make me feel better, and I tell you what, this certainly enriches my soul. It really does.
The work that you're doing with the charity.
Oh yeah, totally.
But you said something interesting when you were talking about being a Spice Girl. You said you got to be this famous, and you found fame, but then it wasn't what you thought it might be.
No.
So I mean, so what was it? I mean, where did it fall short?
You know, I'd like to say I don't discredit it. You know, what we achieved together. You know, I thank the Spice Girls and all the fans. Without them, I would not be sitting here. So I'm truly grateful. However, it was a massive learning experience for me. You know, spiritually, mentally, my mind grew 100 years. You know, in so many ways, and I thought that was going to give me everything, and it's great. It does satisfy a piece of me, and I love it. But then there is more to life than that. Of course, and it's natural that you're going to grow and want to find more fulfilling things as well as that.
Okay. I mean, so basically, it didn't fulfil you. But what's interesting then is to look at the aspect probably of that fame that didn't fulfil you. I mean, were there moments when you were this famous person, the Spice Girl, and that sort of thing, where you actually thought, this is not really what I want at all?
I've always wanted it, and I still want it. I love it, but there was, you know, the day that I left the Spice Girls, and I wasn't planning to leave on that day. It made me check out my principles. Actually, I was meant to be in this studio doing the National Lottery, and the schedule wouldn't permit me to do a breast cancer interview. And I thought, hold on a minute, what are your principles? So I had to question myself. What am I about? Where's your integrity? You know?
So you did the breast cancer interview rather than...
Well, you know, things got very complicated, but... You know, but that is the reason why I left on that day.
Yes.
You know, I'm not saying that is the reason why I left the Spice Girls. There was never a good day to leave. That's the reason. I was going to leave in September, you know, and the girls knew that. I'd pre-warned them.
So it just brought it forward a bit.
But it brought forward. That's all. But this is, you know, it's one of those things. This was my personal decision, not to do with any of the girls, really. It was just something that I had to do, spiritually, mentally, for my own growth. I really did. I felt like a hypocrite if I stayed. You know, I'm meant to be, you know, stand for girl power. Well, you know, it's not just about singing songs. It really isn't. So I had to do it.
Okay.
But I will be singing some songs soon.
Well, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, I will.
My next question was to be that.
Was it? I beat you to it.
I know you did. so you're working on a record on an album?
Well, this year I put all my, you know, it's been a roller coaster of emotion. I thought I'm going to do something constructive, and I poured it all into lyrics for my album. So just before Christmas, I sketched all the songs, and I'm mastering them now. So what you're going to have is this album that's totally schizophrenic, mood swings, so every woman in Britain will identify with it. Yeah, and I expect you to be dancing. There's some songs that you can dance around in your underpants to, you know, and have good sex to, possibly. But as I am UN ambassador, you have to wear a condom. All right?
Can I borrow your Winstead pyjamas?
You can indeed. They are just, you know, total turn on.
Well, I've got no doubt you'll succeed.
Oh, you never know. I might fall flat on my face, but you've got to try.
You know, I mean, I think it's interesting. I mean, the three of you have achieved an awful lot in your lives. And I mean, what is a single factor? Is it this curious thing called ambition? I mean, with you and Carol, it obviously is, but with you, Dawn, I mean, you seem to have no real ambition at all toward doing what you're doing now.
No, it's true. It's a hideous accent. accident.
It's just like terrible, like a calamity, really.
Yeah, but I certainly
are.
wasn't hell-bent on any of it, I have
No.
to say. It was sort of by mistake.
Yeah, that's right.
But it
it's-
does
I
feel very
landed into
natural,
it by
so-
mistake, but once you're in...
Oh, but you were driven as well, weren't you? You'd be...
I've driven into something, but
Yes.
not television.
Yes.
But then once I was in there, I thought, well, you know,
It's better than working, you thought, this.
Oh, well, I did.
It is. Don't tell anybody, or else they'll all want the job.
And I did fall immediately in love with Richard Whiteley, of course.
Well,
that's
Who
it.
is a sex god.
Oh,
just
hello,
in case.
Richard, I've got to say to you.
he is irresistible, I've heard.
Oh, yeah. Nice to
I
see you.
could resist him.
Could you?
Yeah.
Why do you say? The other thing, I mean, the one thing you have in common, actually, is that you all wanted to be members of a girl band, didn't you?
I've got a brilliant idea.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that'd be
Do
wonderful,
not
wouldn't it?
strike any song up.
And you can be backing singer.
I could be backing. I don't want to be the
Or a
manager.
sexy little dancer at the front.
Yes. What was yours called?
Oh, well, we did the sugar lumps.
sugar
yeah,
lump- the
these
sugar
guys.
lumps,
So that's
that's
for
right.
comic relief, which is ordinarily a very safe activity.
Yes.
I hasten to add, we don't drown everybody.
No.
The words for us
But it was
comic
worth
relief.
it. It made me grow. See, every time I'm nervous, I say, at least I'm not drowning in Uganda.
Okay, well, look, we're at the end, sadly, of our...
Oh, before we go,
yes, go on.
you promised something. You said that,
Go on.
and you have to stick to your word, that, you know, when you retire, you said that I could have your job, so I just wanted
I didn't
to...
say...
You did. And you said that you would be my first interview, so can we get a question in?
Hey,
How was
you
it for
said
you?
that to me, too.
Hey, Parky.
What's your game, buddy?
All right, Spunky.
Dr. Parky.
I'm going before it gets any worse.
Women on again.
I think we'll be the judge of whether you're spunk at the moment.
In the bar later.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Geri Halliwell. Oh, dear. My thanks to Geri Halliwell, Carol Bodeman and Dawn French. Next Friday, I'm joined by Lee Evans, Robert Lindsay and Stephen Fry. Until then, from all of us here, a very good night. Good night.